Hey, everybody. Yes, you saw that title correct. Waiting for the chat to filter in here. But today we're going to be doing something a little different. I've wanted to do a discussion on My Hero for the past couple of weeks. The question gets brought up a lot in, like, One Piece streams. I'll do, like, chapter discussions. People, like, talk about the new My Hero, what happened in My Hero. And I'm always hesitant to do it in, like, a One Piece stream because, like, this is, like, end of series spoilers. So I don't want to, like, in the middle of talking about the One Piece chapter, like, here's the finale between Izuku and Tomura. Because that's, like, some people might not have gotten caught up to that yet. So I've always intended to do a separate stream for that. I was actually going to do it a couple weeks ago, and then I was going to do, like, just wait until it ends. But I didn't really actually know how, because the way Horikoshi phrased it was like, hey, the final battle might be over, but this isn't the kind of manga that can just end immediately after the final villain is taken care of, so we're going to go on a little further than that. And I didn't know what he meant. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I didn't know what Horikoshi meant by that. Like, it's going to go on a little further. Like, is there going to be an entire, like, epilogue arc? Like, because the last chapter sets up stuff with, like, Shoto and Endeavor and, like, this mysterious new, like, wounded guy who kind of looks like Dabi, but not really, you know? And it's just like, okay, is this going to be, like a 20-chapter, 30-chapter arc? Like, when you say, like, oh, the series isn't quite over yet, I'm like, I don't know what this means. But no, it's like, basically Bleach. It's, like, 5 chapters. We're going to get 5-chapter epilogue arcs, so... You know, when he said, like, this isn't the kind of series that can end right after the final villain is defeated, it's like 6 or 7 chapters after the final villain is defeated, so basically. But, yeah, it's a little bit of an epilogue. So, like, I'm assuming this epilogue arc is going to focus a lot on the Todoroki family. We're probably going to do, like, most of that, and then maybe, like, the last chapter is going to be a flash forward to the future, maybe. And we'll see what everybody's up to, you know, as when they're heroes and what Izuku is doing. And, you know, I actually kind of think Izuku might just become like a police officer. Because remember way back at like in chapter 1 of the series when he meets All Might on the roof and he's like, I don't have a quirk, All Might, but can I be a hero too? And All Might looks right at him and is just like, nah, sorry, you can't, kid. There's super villains out there that can throw giant fireballs, that can fly, it can blow stuff up, and can turn into monsters. You can't, nah, sorry. But you know what? Join the police force, kid. Join the police. They could use some help every now and then, right? And then, of course, by the end of the chapter, Izuku proves himself, and All Might gives him, one for all. Yeah, I would find it funny if Izuku just follows in the footsteps of Tsukaichi and just becomes a police officer at the end of it. The chances are the epilogue could go either like Duel Monsters did, or it could go on like how Naruto did. I mean, like, Naruto didn't really have an epilogue arc. They had like one chapter where they were in the future. Like, there was the chapter where like Naruto and Sasuke finished their fight. I mean, do you consider that the epilogue? I didn't consider that the epilogue. I didn't consider Naruto and Sasuke's final battle to be the epilogue. I considered like the final chapter in the future to be the epilogue. Like, yeah. To me, Final Act was a series of up and downs, but whatever happens in those last 5 chapters, expect some fandom shipping drama, as it always happens. Well, you know, the nature of My Hero Academia, the exact genre it's in, has always been like a little bit of shonen battle manga, a little bit of like school life, slice of life manga. So yeah, there's going to be the standard shipping as we're going about that. That's, you know, like one thing in like One Piece I'm actually kind of happy that Oda doesn't do is like, we're not going to cut to the end of One Piece and like, all right, Luffy got together with Nami. That's how that worked. It's like, no, that's not going to how that's going to go. But we'll see how that happens, and people will be upset no matter what Horikoshi does. So yeah, I consider all of Boruto the epilogue. All of Boruto is the epilogue. That's a long epilogue. My Hero Academia fans will shower in 5 chapters. Oh my god, that's mean. No. You know, like, yeah, so I'm not really expecting anything major in these 5 chapters. I'm not expecting, like, something revolutionary. Like, maybe Horikoshi will try to put the cap on the Endeavor plotline of, like, Endeavor is truly a changed person now after the events of what happened. Oh, do you think Endeavor's gonna die? Oh, do you think Horikoshi would do that? You think like in the last arc, the last end of the series, last part of the story, something happens and Endeavor has to like sacrifice himself for his wife and his kids or something, and he has to give his life, and that's like the ultimate kind of like he was so sorry he died, and it's like I don't know if I would like that. I don't care. I don't care for maybe that. Yeah, that's not a great idea, but I don't know, maybe, because I'm like, what else could you really? I don't know. That's a pretty heavy thing to drop on an epilogue, though. Like, by the way, Endeavor dies at the very, very end. It's like, no! Favorite YouTuber right here. What do you think of an oil logia? Well, we're not really talking about One Piece today. I appreciate the 20 super chat, so I will answer it, but this is more of a My Hero Academia thing today. I'm 19, working as a oil pumper and getting all the cool properties of oil and how it would be really cool fruit. I mean, oil seems like I want there to be a liquid-based devil fruit at some point, whether it be like liquid metal, like mercury, or oil is a good one. We're kind of getting something similar with the soot fruit with Karasu's ash fruit. It's not the same thing as oil, but it's, you know, it's malleable and it could turn into a bunch of stuff. But yeah, it's more of a One Piece thing today. Not a One Piece, on My Hero Academia stream today. Oh yeah, Deku's dad's gonna show up. Yeah, you know Izuku's dad's gonna show up at the very end. In one of these chapters, he's gonna pop in and be like, "Hey, everybody, how you doing?" Like, what was his name? We have his name. It's Inko is his mom. His name is Hisashi. Hisashi is his name. Yeah, he's gonna pop up. He's gonna pop up, and it's gonna be like, "Where the hell were you?" And it's gonna be like, "Sorry, I was really busy with work." You know? Like, that's the last one. Lava is liquid. Not exactly. I want something like super, like, you know, like an actual liquid-based fruit. Yeah, it's like the last panel. It's like a sitcom panel. It's like and that was the story of how I became the greatest hero in the world. And then the door opened, and it's like, what I miss? And it's like, Dad, standing tall, and the ending credits roll. And it's like, yeah, dude, I want a legitimate reason. Like, at the beginning of the series, it was whatever. But, like, after so much shit happened in the story to Izuku, I want a logical reason why Hisashi never went back home to visit his family. Like, at the beginning of the story, you could argue, okay, he's working overseas. I think it was stated he works in the U.S. I don't know if it was ever actually confirmed. It just says he works overseas. So I'm assuming the United States. All right, he's working in the U.S., right? And it's like, hey, your son got attacked by a sludge villain in the street. And he's like, well, you know, I can't come home just for that. You know, it's like, hey, your son got a quirk all of a sudden. That's weird. He never had one. In fact, he was expressly told he was never going to get one. But he has one now. Well, that's good for him. I'm glad. I hope everything works out. He also got accepted into UA High School. Oh, that's good. Cool. Put him on the phone. I'll congratulate him. Good job, sport. All right. Then, like, a few weeks later, the USJ incident happens, and your son was attacked by a terrorist organization on school property, mind you, and they got seriously injured in the process. Well, yeah, I'm really swamped with work this week, Inko. I wish I could come home and see my son after he was attacked by a literal terrorist organization. But, you know, I just got work going on today. It'll toughen him up some. That's everybody's got to get... like, and it just keeps going up from there. Hey, Hisashi, how are you doing, honey? Oh, I'm great. Hey, your son was attacked by a serial killer, an actual legitimate serial killer who, by the way, he sought out to fight. Maybe you should come home and, like, talk to him a bit. It's like, nah, my boss is... I think Hisashi was having an affair. I think Hisashi was straight up having an affair with some woman in California or something. He's on the beach with his, like, mistress or something, and he just like, oh, son attacked by a serial killer. Oh, man, I really wish I could be. I'll check my schedule. I'll get back to you. Beep, come here, baby. Yeah, just like... that is, like, the only legitimate reason. Like, he just does not give a shit about his kids. Isn't the dude working overseas? Yeah, does that mean he's on another planet? Like, he can never visit his kids? You know what? I had a theory. I had an actual theory. The only way that this makes any kind of sense, even this is stretching credulity quite a bit, but the only way it makes sense is if he has a extraordinarily high up position in the U.S. government. Like they say, they never actually said what his job was. They just said he works overseas. What if Hisashi Midoriya is like the undersecretary of like defense for the United States government? Like, what if he is like an extraordinary, like what if he's like the Speaker of the House or some shit? And it's just like he has such an important government position, or like he works for the military and he just can't go home because he's like that important of a job. Even like if his son was attacked by a terrorist organization and a serial killer on several occasions, he could not go home. You know? Nobody high paid in the U.S. actually works. All right, if Deku passed OFA around Class 1A, he could have gotten a bunch of new powers, and they would have all... Yeah, that's like if you were playing My Hero Academia D&D and you had OFA, you would just be like, oh, I could just game the system by like I give it to you, and then you give it back to me, and then I give it to you, and then I give it back to me, and you could gain like 500 quirks. That wouldn't work, though, because we've stated the quirks have a capacity, you know what I mean? And there's like a certain effect for it to take effect. Like, it's not just pass it back like a baton. Like, maybe you could do that. I don't know. It's never really been shown to work like that. But I feel like eventually, if you added too much power to it, if you added too many quirks to OFA, the quirk factor itself might become unstable and it might collapse. You know, because even having like 9 users and 7 quirks stored in it was already kind of like getting it to breaking point. Because I think at a certain point, the quirk singularity would just collapse. You know? I wrote that Hisashi was one of the scientists forced to work for the cult and is dead now. I mean, honestly, if he was dead now, I mean, that still wouldn't make any sense because he would have found out that his father is dead. That's what Horikoshi should have said. He should have just said, yeah, Hisashi's dad passed away when he was like in middle school or something. Like, that would be, honestly, if he retcons that, I guess that makes more sense than this. The only other explanation is, what if they did a thing where Hisashi did come back every now and then? We just never saw it. Like during the semester break, like he did come back during Christmas and like visit Izuku and his wife for a few days and then had to go back to the US. We just never saw that, and Izuku never mentioned it because he never mentions his dad. They could have had a scene where like Uraraka is walking to school like with Ida and Izuku, and they're like, oh, hey, Deku, what did you do over Christmas? And Izuku's like, oh, not much. You know, my dad came back and told him everything that was happening, and he was really nervous, but he had to go back to the U.S. because he has a really important job in the military. And he's like, well, that's crazy. You know, he never did any of that. So it's like we assume that might have happened, but it probably didn't. Yeah. Yeah, well, yes, Bakugo did have the power of All Might. It is canon. I mean, wasn't that in the movie? And didn't it happen? Oh, Jesus, at this point, like what happened in the last couple of arcs, I'm like, a lot of stuff was packed into that final battle. It's almost like a running gag. Yeah, but yeah, I think Hisashi's going to pop in at some random point in these last 5 chapters. Yeah. I always had a feeling their parents were divorced. Like, even if they were divorced, does he just not care about his son? You know? Izuku tried transferring One for All to Bakugo, but the transfer didn't complete. I was like, this was a movie. Now, here's the thing, though. They also kind of include a thing where the movies are canon. In fact, in one of the chapters in the last couple of weeks, I can't remember which one it was, you actually see panels from all 3 My Hero Academia movies. You see the one from Two Heroes, you see Melissa and her dad, and then you also see the 2 kids from the second movie, and then you see, I can't remember the name of it, it's the one where they were on that island, which with 9, which might actually be my favorite one. And then you see Rhodey with his like siblings from the World Hero movie, which was, I was really kind of disappointed in that one, to be honest with you. But I guess like the first movie, at least Melissa is canon and her dad is canon, because that all stuff is explained later. Like the events of the movie where All Might saves the family from like being attacked at the Santa Monica Pier when he like arrived in the U.S. That was Kathleen Bate, who is like Star and Stripes. So that is tied in. So that is canon. Does that mean like the events of the second movie where they fight 9 and Izuku and Bakugo share One for All for a bit? Like, is that canon? Like, is that specific moment canon? Because they never mention it. They never talk about that one time that Bakugo got One for All. You'd think that would be mentioned. I'm not sure. I do like the idea, though, that Horikoshi made at least the movie characters canon. You know, I kind of do like that. So movie 4 might be a time skip. Oh, yeah, the 4th one's coming out. That's right. I completely forgot about that. The 4th movie is You're Next. Hero Rising. So Two Heroes was the first one. That's the one with Melissa, and they were on that island, and they had to fight against, like, that terrorist organization that, like, attacked the island and stuff. Excuse me. Are we good? Yes. Okay. So, and then the second movie was when, actually, the second one is my favorite, when they're all on that one island, a different island, and they're like their own miniature hero agency. Like Class 1A has to work together as like a hero agency, as like in training, and an organization like attacks that island, and there's a guy named Nine who has like 9 quirks. He's like a downgraded version of All for One. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good one. And then the third one was World Heroes Mission, which I was really excited about that movie because I thought we were going to like travel all over the world and we were going to see a bunch of different heroes from a bunch of different countries like Egypt and England and the US and Brazil and Canada and everything like that. And that's not what the movie was about. So sucks. But whatever. Vigilantes was really good. Yeah, Vigilantes has 6, so 9 is canon. Yeah, Vigilantes also would have been interesting if Koichi had like an appearance at one point. That would be really cool. I was kind of waiting for like Koichi or somebody at the end to show up. Because at the end of Vigilantes, Koichi goes to work in America. It'd be really fun if like part of the restoration effort, like fixing up. I mean, there's still 5 chapters. We might see him somewhere. But that would be cool if Koichi was present. Because I've even cosplayed as like the reason I bought this hoodie was because I was cosplaying as the Crawler at a convention a few years ago. God, that was back in like 2019 now. Wow, that was 5 years ago already. Holy crap. Yeah. Koichi did show up last chapter. He did? Holy crap. I gotta look into this. I didn't see that last chapter. Holy shit. I was looking for him. Man, okay. So awesome. All right, okay, cool. That all fits together then. All right. All right, cool. He's in a new costume. All right, that might have been the thing, right? Dude, that was awesome because I was seeing the chapter where they were like, you know, fixing up the city and everything, and I was like, oh, cool. This would be really cool if they put some like Vigilantes characters in this, and I didn't see anything. Was it the last chapter or the one before that? I think it was the one before that, because I don't see anything in the last chapter. Yeah, I don't think there's anything in the last chapter. I think it was the one before that. He's in a single panel carrying civilians. Okay, so that was chapter 424, not 425. Okay. All right. Let's check this out here. Let's see what we got here. All right, we see the Egyptian hero guy, Salam, I think it is. All right, and we see the guy from Singapore, red dot, big red dot. He's carrying a civilian. Wait a minute. Is it the guy with the helmet? I guess that's him? If that's supposed to be Koichi, that is a stretch. There is no way I would have assumed. That is fucking Koichi. There's no way to tell that. How do you even know that? Unless somebody came out directly and said that's Koichi from Vigilante. There's no way I would have said that's Koichi. Hold on, I'll just show you. Look at that. Hold up. Here. I believe you. That's Koichi. But like, there is no way to distinguish any facial features from that. Like, okay. I mean, like, yeah, I guess kind of. Yeah. Like, that's the only thing to go off of, though. Yeah. It has the pattern in the hoodie. It's like, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's him. Okay, that's Koichi, I guess. He has this new costume from the Edge of Vigilante. Oh, that's right. That's right. He did get a new costume at the very, very end. Shit. I have the whole, I'll just pull it up here. God, I have to go back and read Vigilantes. Vigilantes was a great side manga, by the way. Like, they covered a lot of good stuff in that one. I love the flashback arc in Vigilantes where they actually show All Might back when he was still, like, before the injury. And he was like, this is how All Might operated, like, you know, during his, like, I guess his golden age, silver. I guess it was during the Silver Age when it was like he didn't have the injury from All for One yet, and he was like full power. That was really cool to see that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was my forgetfulness. But yeah, he does get that new costume at the very end. Yep. All right. Cool. He's in it. Nice. Go, Koichi. Love Koichi. Yeah, that is his new outfit. Wow, okay. Yeah, I completely forgot he had that cool-ass visor. Good for Koichi. Good for Koichi. All right. What is your current rating? Oh, okay. So, like, this is hard because, like, to rate, like, an entire manga, like I don't know if I could do that. Like, I legitimately do not think I could give the entirety of the My Hero Academia manga, like, even just up to this point. Like, I need to sit down and think about that for a while. But, yeah, he really did drop the drip test. I mean, holy shit. Koichi's drip here is, like, hardcore. Like, look at this. I hope it doesn't get corrupted, but I'll show you. Yep, look at that. That is some pro hero drip right there. Koichi's story is also fascinating because it does tie into something else with another character in My Hero. And I've had ideas for a few My Hero Academia videos over the years. I just never did them. But if this is the opportunity to bring it up, might as well, right? There's three actually that I want to address. Like topics for videos that I never got around to doing. So I might as well just do them now because they might never happen. But anyway, as for the rating of, like, the final arc of, like, the final battle between the villains and the heroes, you know, culminating in the defeat of All for One and Tomura and the League and how that goes, I would give that with a 10 out of 10 being perfect and a 1 out of 10 being, like, worst thing ever, destroyed the entire concept of a manga for me. I would probably give it a 7. Yeah. I am rereading it now, though, because, like, Volume 38 just came out in the U.S., so this is up to the fight with, actually, this is just, at the end of this volume is kicking off the Armored All Might fight. The last chapter of Volume 38 is when All Might takes out the briefcase and begins to go into Armored All Might form. So Volume 39 is gonna be wild. So I'm, like, kind of rereading it through that. That's way too high a rating. Well, that's what I feel. I feel like I should give it. I mean, I'm rereading it now, like, a second time through, so my opinion might change. But I'd say 7 is good. I mean, it definitely was not perfect. I feel like there is some harshness to it that people give that I'm not sure is entirely warranted. But I get some other stuff I do get. Like, let's talk about this, because this is a big debate, and it was Izuku's viewpoints on Tomura. I'll be happy, I'll tell you this much, that if they ended this series with Tomura being alive, like Izuku didn't kill him and he just decided to give up his evil way, whatever, that would have knocked it down some points. Because I've seen stories do that where they don't want to go all the way with it. And they're like, well, I don't want to kill off the main villain. I want to have him have a change of heart. And even if it doesn't make sense thematically, I'm going to do it anyway. I've seen that happen. And I'm glad they didn't do that. All right? It was kind of touch and go there because up until the very end, Izuku... Now, here's the thing, though. Izuku is true to his guns. Where he doesn't want to kill someone. That's a good thing. That's a good virtue to have. Not wanting to kill another human being. That's a good thing to have. So let's start from the baseline there. Sometimes, in a situation like in this world, you might have to kill somebody, but you don't want to do it. That's a good baseline. To be like, I don't want to kill Tomura. I don't want to be a fucking murderer. All right? Fair. That's fair. Now, when Tomura is at the point where he is like disintegrating entire cities and about to, cause the eruption of Mount Fuji, which would result in the deaths of tens of millions of people, probably. Because Mount Fuji is like right next to Tokyo. It's right fucking there. You know what I mean? And the kind of eruption that it would cause if Tomura was using disintegrate with decay would be way, way worse than like a normal eruption. In that situation, Izuku, like, you might want to just be like, okay, yeah, I don't want to kill him, but dude, at this point, we're dealing with the lives of a lot of people. I have to fucking kill you. Like, there's really no other option here. Like, we're pushing the brink. Like, unless Izuku can see the future. And like, yeah, I know exactly how this is going to turn out. No, he can't. So it's like, okay, he doesn't have the foresight ability. So yeah. And he ultimately had to do that. It ultimately ended with the death of Tomura. And even like Tomura's last words, which were, I'll just pull it up so I don't fuck it up. But his last words, to paraphrase before I pull it up, was essentially like, I've always been the villain. I've always been someone that yearns for destruction. That's how I go. That's how I roll, Izuku. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Okay, I skipped a couple of chapters here, actually. I think it was, what was it, 420? Was it 423? Yeah, it's 423. Yeah. So, Izuku and Tomura have the last moment where they're, like, connecting fists. And at that point, you had, All for One come back a little bit and taking over Tomura's body. So at that point, there's a moment of clarity where Tomura kind of comes back at the very end. And he says, after Master swallowed me up, I thought I was done for. You made sure I wouldn't disappear. Grandma, Kurogiri, Tomura's remembering all the people that cared about him. I wasn't able to crush your hand. And then Izuku's like, I fought because I could not forgive what you've done. I wanted to stop you because you wanted to be stopped, so your sadness wouldn't be passed on. Like, look, you could frame this however you want to frame it. Izuku did care about Tomura. He cared about Tomura. He didn't want to kill him. You could argue, Izuku, that's too naive. He's killed thousands of people, maybe more, depending on how many people were in those cities. Like, all the fucking shit that Tomura's done. You should, Izuku, you're a naive child to still want to be this guy's friend. He's a mass murderer. You should hate him and kill him, and that should be the end of it. But, that's the core of Izuku's character. He doesn't really want to hate the guy. And also keep in mind that Izuku is like 16, so you're so naive, Izuku. Well, he's a teenager, so it kind of goes hand in hand a little bit, I would say. But Tomura's there and he's like, Izuku Midoriya, if Spinner is still alive, tell him Tomura Shigaraki fought until the end to destroy. And Izuku says, and you did do that. And then that was the finale, and then Tomura just disintegrates after that point. I think there is a little bit of it's hard to balance the message of a story versus what the characters feel for other characters. Because look at it this way. Izuku does not know he's the main character of a manga that people are reading and extrapolating a message from. So the way Horikoshi's trying to write him is as more of a real person, not a person that's like a protagonist in a manga. Does that make sense? So it's kind of hard to balance that. Like, do I have Izuku just like, nope, you are a mass murderer, Tomura. You have killed so many people. You are beyond forgiveness. I am going to kill you here, you son of a fucking piece of shit. Like that. Or is it like, I felt some camaraderie with this guy. I hate that I have to do this, but I have to do it because you've killed people and there's no other way around this. You gotta go. And, I don't want to do it. I hurt. Later, man, Yeah. Yeah, Tomura died. Like, Tomura literally died. Yeah. also, yeah, I mean, like, that actually does tackle another thing that comes up a lot in manga. I'm trying to think what was the parody I saw of this one time. Like, somebody actually referenced, like, so many protagonists in shonen manga because they're shonen. They're aimed at, like, a teenage audience, and they're, like, coming-of-age stories. You know, think about all of the god powers and weight of the world that, like, literal teenagers are given in, like, shonen manga. Like, Naruto is, like, 12 at the beginning of his story. And he's like, yeah, you have a demon spirit that's basically a nuke inside of you. Have fun, you know? And it's like, Izuku, yeah, you literally have been given, you know, the powers of the strongest hero in the world that's going to make you a target for the greatest villain in the world. And you're a freshman in high school. Have fun, buddy. You know, it might have been Team 4 stars. I'm like, that is absurd. You know, I'm glad that, like, sometimes, like, you know, if in that situation, dude, you know, if I was 15 years old and I was given the powers of One for All, I would probably make a bunch of stupid-ass decisions with it that make no damn sense. You know, it's like, hey, you got to go over there and kill that guy. It's like, I really don't want to. Well, you got to. You got to do it. You have the power. That's your great power, great responsibility. You ever watch Spider-Man? Go, do it. I'm like, I don't want to. It's like, too bad. Yeah. When All for One's vestige was destroyed, all of the Ophie vestiges struck him, except for All Might's mother's. Yes, but she broke through later. Shimura Nana broke through a little later in that same chapter. And you actually see it when she physically, like, shatters through, because she was the only one that got rebounded, because Tomura is like, get away from here. I don't want you in my memories, grandmother. You have no place here. So it was a little harder for her to break through, but she did. And so that's why she disappears as well. Yeah. I loved all the Spider-Man references. Yeah, him, I really, if there's anything, okay, so I guess I should talk about, like, how I felt the series was going to end. I felt like the series was going to end, because I didn't think, like, by the time this is realized, like, this is the final arc. Like, they're not going to go to second year or third year of UA, or if they do, we're not going to see that. You know, maybe there'll be a spin-off manga at some point, but I don't know. Anyway, I assumed the way it was going to end was kind of the same thing that happened with Tomura being defeated ultimately, but Izuku still has Black Whip. He has One for All and Black Whip. Everything else was destroyed. So he lost Float, he lost, you know, the Overdrive Quirk and Top Gear and everything like that, whatever that was called. He lost all that shit, and now he just has Black Whip. And because Black Whip was always established as, like, not a really impressive quirk, but Izuku made it really good, and so he basically becomes Spider-Man. Like, that was kind of what I was hoping for. Izuku keeps Black Whip. And there was even a chapter when all of the vestiges were coming together and talking to Izuku, and they even said to Banjo, they were like, hey, Banjo, we're going to throw ourselves at Tomura to try to disrupt his quirk factor, but make sure you keep Black Whip connected to Izuku at all costs. So I thought that one was going to be the one he was going to hold on to, because that was the one he kind of used the most as well. But no, he still has Black Whip. No, he lost everything. He has a little bit of the embers left, which he said in the last chapter. He has a little bit of the embers that'll still keep going, but eventually those are going to burn out in a few months, maybe. Those will burn out, and then he won't have much of anything at all. By the time Izuku is an adult, he won't have a quirk anymore. Like, that's kind of already been established. Yeah. What is the story's message to you? I think the message of My Hero Academia is, and it's not something that's, like, I would say has not been addressed in other series. I don't say, like, this is the only story that, you know, tackles this. But it's dealing with what does it mean to be a hero and a villain? And that's a line that Horikoshi brings up so many times in the story. You know, like, and the way that he does with a lot of the villains is, like, you don't necessarily have to be okay with what they're doing. They are murderers, after all. But to understand the series of events of how they ended up where they ended up, and Horikoshi explains that in a bunch of different ways. There are some incidents where the way that a villain turned out, you could definitely see that as, like, 100% their fault. And then in other cases, you question if it was more of the villain's fault or more of society's fault that they ended up where they ended up. especially with Toga's backstory. And that was one of the videos I wanted to make. So we're going to discuss that here, definitely. Because you got to question, like, some of the stories and some of the, like, how did they end up where they ended up, okay? Being a hero is not as simple as just, like, because we see this not stereotypical, but we see this, like, we've seen this in other kind of fiction before, like a superhero society, like a society where superheroes exist. Okay, we see this in comics, we see this in Marvel and DC, and in the hit Disney movie Sky High. We've seen all of these, right? The Incredibles kind of is something like that too, like a world where superpowers exist, right? And in the world where those superpowers exist, it's you know, there's one way of painting that of just like these are the heroes that defend the city, and then there are the villains that fight. Now, thankfully, in recent years, there has been a slew of superhero fiction that delves into the underside and the problems that can arise in those worlds. I haven't seen The Boys yet, but I've seen enough clips of Homelander being a psychopath, so I know that, like, all right, the way that show is tackling heroes is a much more visceral way than, like, shows in, like, the 60s would have, like, tackled them. Like, I am a hero, I am a good guy, and I will defeat the villains. I'm the villain, I am the bad guy, I've robbed a bank. Ah, you villain, it doesn't matter what happened to you or how you ended up where you ended up. You are a villain with a snidely whiplash mustache. I will now defeat you with the power of good. Nah, I have been defeated. Oh, no. You know, like, a lot more superhero fiction has become a little bit more nuanced in recent years, and I'm glad to include My Hero Academia in that set as well, because there's heroes that are horrible pieces of shit. I mean, look at Endeavor. Look at Endeavor's backstory. But even with Endeavor's backstory, it's like, yeah, he's a hero that abused his wife and abused his children to the point where one of his children, like, he thought he killed him, which even if he didn't technically kill Dabi or Toya, he still, like, abused his kid. And you know, well, he did force him to train, but then after that, he's like, well, the flame quirk is too powerful. It's not going to be good enough, so I'm going to kind of lay off of him. But then Toyo was like, look, Dad, I could be good. I could be better, Dad. Look at me. And Endeavor really didn't deal with that enough. Like, he just kind of like, you got to stop doing that, son, and then just walked away. And then Toya's like, I will make Dad love me. I will show what I can do. And it's like, yeah, that's still Endeavor's fault, because Toyo was like an 8-year-old when that was going on. He didn't really address the issue too well, you know? Did Dabi die? I mean, I think so. Pretty sure he did. I remember a bunch of chapters where he was like basically a walking pile of charcoal, and yet he wasn't dead yet. That was a little weird, but yeah. My Hero Academia may be ending, but the concerning fan art will live on. Well, fan art will live on with every series, concerning and not. I'm disappointed. Pointed. We almost got zero international heroes, and when we did, it was super cool. And then they all died within a few chapters. I mean, yeah, that's another one we got to discuss. We got to discuss Star and Stripe as well. Tomura should have died in that fight, by the way. Like, after watching that fight in the anime and kind of going back and rereading it, I'm like, Tomura should have died there. Yeah, like straight up. Was that guy in the last chapter Dabi? Was that supposed to be Dabi? Holy shit. How the fuck is he still alive? Did they use Rewind on him? Because, oh, by the way, Rewind existing. No, that's a problem. I knew that was going to be a problem the second they introduced that shit. I'm like, nah, that's too much. That's too much. You do not, having that wasn't a good positive for the story. That was not a net positive, I don't think. Granted, they didn't abuse it to the level I thought they were going to abuse it. But still, that quirk existing, period, was not, yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't know if that last, I don't think that last guy at the end is supposed to be Dabi. It doesn't look like Dabi. I thought Endeavor was sitting in front of Dabi in a tank. See, I didn't interpret it that way. I didn't think that Dabi, like, I don't know, man. Dobby still being alive at the end of that is going to be really crazy because his whole body, like, burned to pieces. Yeah. Oh, AFO not taking Overhaul is the biggest plot. That is another big one. That was a big one, yeah. Yeah. Maybe Kurogiri in the last panel? Maybe. Top MILF in the series, easily Rumi. I don't think Rumi's a mom, but I'm going with Rumi. I'm going with sexy bunny girl. Sexy muscular bunny girl waifu. I'm going with Mirko on that one. Yeah. What's my favorite power from the entire show? God, there are so many good ones. Out of class 1A, I would probably say, this is even tough doing this. I've always liked Sero's just because it's such a unique power. Like, he creates tape, but it's kind of badass. I like his. God, if I picked Sero as my favorite quirk out of class 1A, literally so many other. There's a girl that can, like, turn off gravity, but I'm gonna pick the guy that has the power of Scotch tape. It's quite practical too. I mean, it really is. It really is. I liked Wash having the little bubbles. The bubble quirk was really good. I loved when Hawks first showed up. When Hawks showed up, the different ways he could use Fierce Wings or Mighty Wings. I always say Mighty Wings because that's the name of a Cheap Trick song. You know, I think it was in the Top Gun soundtrack actually. But that was really cool. Like, he could telekinetically control each wing, like each feather. Like that. That's a cool one. Let's see here. Earphone Jack is another kind of clever one that Jiro uses. That's a really good one. Hawks has a very versatile power, which is just really fun. Wash is top 5. Oh, you know what? I liked Crust. I like Shield Hero guy. He only was around briefly and then he died, but I like the idea of just creating the little hexagonal shields around your body. You could, like, fire them at people and, like, block attacks and make different shapes of the shields. That was kind of fun. Koichi's was good as he just places his hands on any surface, like kinetic energy, and he could just slide along like it's like a track. That's a really clever power. Although technically that was, spin-off manga. R.I.P. to Crust. I liked Sun Eater's power. Sun Eater's power, especially when he made the giant laser beam death cannon at the end of the arc. That was cool. Where even Mirio says, like, dude, Sun Eater, you have, like, the strongest fucking quirk ever, if you really think about it. Because that is, like, some D&D type shit where Tamaki could literally, like, if this was in D&D, like, anything you eat becomes your power. You would go around and be like, okay, I'm going to make an entire list of, like, 100 different things, and I'm going to eat one little bite of all these 100 different things, and I'm going to make a giant laser cannon. And you hand that to the DM, and you're like, can I do this? I'm like, oh, shit, roll? Yeah, I guess you can. Just, like, yeah. Like, what was all the shit that went into that final... Like, that final cannon was so big, all the shit... You couldn't even read all the stuff that made it up, because it was, like, covered by everything. Oh, Manifest is such a good quirk. Oh, Plasma Cannon. What did he add to this? Oh, my God. I don't even think you could read it all. Yeah. You can't... Even on the wiki, it's not an inclusive list, because you can't read everything. But some of the things that make it up include... Zebra tarantula, dragon fruit, spider crab, Sika deer, American alligator, green sea turtle, locust red sea urchin, soft shell turtle, watermelon, and a bamboo tree. And you just add all that together and it makes plasma cannon! Yeah. Some people are saying 13's black hole quirk. That was cool. I like the black hole quirk, but It wasn't like one of my favorites. Stain's blood curdle, I thought was a clever idea. Like, he has to lick blood, and depending on how close the blood is to his blood type, causes you to be immobile. I thought that was a clever idea. That was a cool idea, yeah. How the fuck does that make a laser? There's dragon fruit in it. Have you ever had a dragon fruit? You eat it and you can fire a laser. You're a dragon. You can get it. There you go. Yeah, Phantom Thief. I love Monama's copy quirk. That's a really good one. Yeah, Monama really stepping into, like, even in the last episode in the English dub, it was him like, hey, villains, how you doing? I'm the main character now. I can copy all these damn powers. Fuck off, you know? Just like, Monama is such a little shit, but I love him. You know what I mean? I love how he's just like, I can copy any quirk. That's actually really busted. Prepare to be destroyed. You know? Nejire's quirk. I never understood what Nejire's ability is. What is Nejire Hato's quirk? Is it just, it's like spiral energy cannon. Like, okay, is it, where's the energy coming from? Is it just energy from the air? Like, what is it exactly? Like, she makes spirals and they shoot energy. Where is it coming from? It's just spinning stuff. I don't know. She spins things and it makes power. It's like, okay, well, what's she spinning? She's an emitter type. Yeah, she's an emitter Nen user, yeah. It's the spiral stuff from Gurren Lagann. It's the spiral energy. It's the spin from JoJo Part 7. Just go with it. You know? Oh, yeah. I think it's just her own energy. What energy? All right. Let's take a moment to stop here and talk about some of the more ridiculous factors. Horikoshi does a good job to try to explain the biology behind quirks. Like, he mentions that, like, there's a special organ in your body that developed that is like housing quirk factors and stuff. That's why when you get hit with the quirk nullifying bullet, the eraser rounds, that's why, like, because that part of you just kind of erases a little bit, and that's why you can't use your quirks anymore. So he does a good job of explaining a little bit of the biology of how this works and how the heteromorphic types work and how, like, the generational difference occurs between quirks and things like that. He does a pretty good job of that. Even so, some of the quirks, like, you really gotta question, like, where is this coming from? My favorite is Momo's. Momo's quirk doesn't make any sense. Momo defies the laws of thermodynamics with her quirk all the time, and it's hilarious. It's awesome for a series, but it's an interesting thing where you're trying to explain that, like, her quirk, she just takes her fat cells and converts them into material. Okay, she literally makes, like, a giant like cannon at one point. So unless one fat cell equals a pound of material, there's no way this is working with conservation of mass and matter, okay? It's just not happening. All right, so that's always I found fun with that. And it's fun to point at, like, certain quirks and okay. The last episode is great because it showed the flying coffin of UA. So this giant building, this giant arena that they constructed of UA, which is already a really big building, and then the entire surrounding campus, and launching that into the sky. All right? The amount of energy that you would require to keep that aloft would be absurd. You'd basically have to have, like, a bunch of nuclear power plants running constantly to keep that thing in the air for, like, a couple of minutes, let alone as long as it is in the story, right? But you know what powers that damn thing? 4 high school students with electrical quirks. It's Kaminari, manga from Class 1B, and, like, 2 other random 2nd or 3rd years that happen to have electricity quirks, and they're the ones powering it. Or they might just be powering the electrical fence, but still, the amount of energy being output into that thing is absurd. Which, if they have, like, the power to keep it aloft, why would they need them for it doesn't make any sense. That's just enough for me. It's like, all right. Yeah. Didn't she make a railgun? Yeah. Dude, in the last episode, you could see Momo, like, in the depths of the coffin of UA. Like, she's in charge of, like, rebuilding. Like, she needs more materials. And so there's, like, giant steel beams and rebar just popping out of Momo's body. You know what? I'm just going to go with that. All right, cool. Yeah, sure. I'm just going to go with the logic that one fat cell from Momo equals 10 pounds of raw iron. Hey, that's a pretty broken quirk if that's how it is. Yeah, that's pretty good, yeah. Yeah. She makes the entire floor with just her body. Yeah, Momo's quirk is the best quirk. It's useful. It just makes no damn sense through like thermodynamics. Newton's head would explode if he saw Momo's quirk. She's already changing mass. It's fine. It's just like, yeah. Oh, dude. Okay. How are you feeling on Shinso? I like Shinso. I really like Shinso. I'm glad he joined the Class 1A finally. He took Aoyama. Oh, you know what? Okay. That's the first thing. Well, I mean, we're 50 minutes into the video, but I got to write down topics here. I want to talk about... We'll talk about Aoyama now. I like Shinso. Shinso will come up later, but I want to talk about Aoyama here. All right? Then we're going to talk about... I want to talk about Toga, because there's something with her backstory that involves, like, the society that exists in this story, and how it just completely, utterly, at every fucking step of the way, failed Toga, and that failure is what led her to become a villain. Like, it is society's fault on that one, and I will argue that point until the end of fucking time. But, and I also want to talk about Gentle. Because there's a topic involving Gentle, and that kind of ties a little bit into Shinso a bit. So I'm gonna click on Shinso and Gentle here, and also kind of talk that time. Can't talk. Ties into Toga a little bit as well. Okay, I mean, Shinso taking on Aizawa's training is great. Yeah, I'm glad that Aizawa basically became like Shinso's like private mentor. Like, that was always really cool to me. Yeah, that was fine. So you're saying we live in a society. Exactly, but that's clever. I like, though, if that was intentional, which I'm sure it was, Horikoshi setting that up for Toga, that works. Okay, Aoyama. I'm going to put a poll up here. I'm going to see where the chat lands on this, because I know how, like, the general public in the world of My Hero Academia reacted to it, but I want to see how the chat responds to here. Okay. All right. Yes or no? Really simple. Is Aoyama at fault for becoming the traitor? Is Aoyama have any personal fault for being the traitor? Because we're going to have a little bit of a fucking discussion about this. All right? I see the wind blowing in the direction that I'm in, so I'm glad about that. That, like, most people understand this. Yeah. What, Tekking? Yes. No. Okay, that's fine. Vote yes. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We will get to it. All right. All right. All right. Okay. We'll leave it up for a little bit here, but I want to just, okay. We're going to go through the straight facts here. All right. And you tell me, at what point does Aoyama become culpable for what the fuck happened? All right. Okay. First thing, he's born. He's born. He does not have a quirk. His parents, who are very wealthy, take him to the doctor. The doctor looks at him. Hey, your son doesn't have a quirk. Sorry. It's kind of a rarity these days, but it happens. Aoyama is like 4 when that happens. So he is a child. He literally has no decision-making capability. He is a child. His decision-making capabilities hinge on, like, what toy he's going to play with. That's it, all right? His parents decide to contact the greatest villain that ever fucking lived. They hear through the grapevine, hey, there's a guy that's literally like the worst terrorist that ever lived in the entire history of villains. And he has the ability to give your son a quirk. And Aoyama's parents are like, okay, we'll make that deal. We'll make that trade. We will get the leader of a villain organization, the greatest villain in the world that has killed so many people and threw society into fucking upheaval almost single-handedly. We'll hire that guy to give our son a quirk. We'll hire that guy to come and touch our son to give him a quirk. He still did what he did. We're not fucking there yet, all right? We're not there yet, all right? Is he at fault yet? No. I don't think anybody could logically say he's at fault yet. He was like 4 or 5 when that happened. He was so young he doesn't even remember, okay? Because as far as he remembers, like he always kind of like, oh, the quirk took a while to activate. Oh, okay, buddy. You're fine. You're good. Okay. All right. So at this point, I don't even think Aoyama knows that All for One is involved in this. He's like 5. He's a little kid. His parents didn't tell him, I think, until he joined UA, or right before he joined UA, is when this whole plan started to get into fucking motion, all right? So, his parents made this Faustian deal with All for One, and they had to have known that, like, hey, I'm giving your son a quirk, so you're gonna owe me something. You owe me a favor from now on. And they knew this. They knew that, like, this guy could call them up anytime. Like, this guy could have called them up and been like, hey, I want Aoyama to be my ward now. I gave him a quirk. You owe me something. I'm taking your kid. So these parents are fucking shit parents, like, out of the gate. Like, I think everybody can agree with that. They are shit parents. All right? So, Aoyama has the naval laser quirk now. He can't really control it. His body is not a good fit for it. They give him some support equipment because they're loaded, they're rich. So he has it, and it's just like, okay, he has that. All right, he's learning how to use his quirk a little bit. All right, time passes. I believe it was right before he got admitted into UA is when his parents actually, because that's when they were contacted by All for One, like, hey, your son, who I gave a quirk to all those years ago, is going to be joining UA. I want him to keep an eye on All Might and keep an eye on the other students that are there and report back anything on what's going on. And if you decide to spill the beans, if he tells anybody about me or our deal, well. And they mentioned that All for One actually brought people in and killed them in front of Aoyama and his parents, to scare the ever-loving shit out of them. Like, this is what happens to people that betray us. And they dragged Aoyama and his parents into a room and then took some people and fucking killed them right in front of their faces. So, you're going to listen to what we have to say here, okay? So, Aoyama, who, by the way, this is very important, is like 15. He's a freshman in high school. I want you to picture yourself as a freshman in high school. And right before you get admitted to school, your parents come to you and say, hey, honey, so your quirk wasn't actually a quirk that you were born with. We kind of made a deal with the greatest villain that ever lived to give you the quirk when you were like a little kid, and now he wants you to spy on all of your classmates and your teachers. And if you don't, we're gonna die. Like, he's gonna kill all of us. So, guess you're gonna be a secret agent. Imagine being 15 and having that shit dropped on your fucking shoulders, all right? And he said yes, because his parents would be fucking murdered otherwise, and he would be murdered otherwise. You cannot say that is not a loaded fucking ultimatum. Hey, man, he said yes. That's it. He's complicit. He would have literally died, and he's not even old enough to really come, like, he's 15, dude. Come on. Right? So then he gets put into UA, and he has to choose, basically, the lives of people he just met or his own life and the lives of his parents.
maybe his whole family, because I can't imagine the level of threats that All For One levied on his family, but I can imagine it was probably like, yeah, you're going to do what I say, you're not going to spill the beans, and if not, we're going to kill you, we're going to kill your mom, we're going to kill your dad, maybe in front of you, then we're going to kill your grandparents, then we're going to, they could have left out any number of threats, and they would have believed them, because All For One is fucking terrifying, right? I'm sorry, I don't find Aoyama culpable in this at all. I understand that after he was discovered to be the traitor, yeah, sure, they have to detain him, they have to lock him up to make sure he's not going to explode. I understand that he had to be arrested and detained for a time. I'm not arguing that. That's just a situation of the times, like, from what was going on. But to blame Aoyama at all for what was going on, that is ridiculous, and I don't understand how you could say, well, he was culpable, he agreed. Okay, so you're saying he shouldn't have agreed and just died there with his parents. That's a pretty hefty thing to throw on a teenage kid. Choose your life and your parents' lives or the lives of people you're just going to meet and you don't even know yet. There's no right answer to that. Either way, someone you love or someone you care about, people are going to die no matter what. And the reason for that, the 100% the reason for that is nothing that you did. It is all what your parents did. Your parents are 100% culpable for this. They were adults. They decided to do this. You didn't have a say in any of this at all. The one time you did get a say in it was at the 11th hour, and it would have resulted in you dying. So, sorry, no. No way am I going to blame Aoyama on that one. Yeah, he just should have died. All right. I mean, if you're that hardcore with it, you should be like, no, Mom and Dad, I am not going to do that. I'll tell All For One to suck a dick to his face. And then you tell All For One to suck a dick to his face. And he's like, oh, all right, well, how disappointing this endeavor was. Boom, 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 you're all dead. All right, well, that's it. I'll find another pawn to do my fucking dirty work, I guess. Who's that? Where's that Mineta kid at? I'll ask him to make a deal. But anyway, that's my heated take on the Aoyama situation. Oh man, his sacrifice would have saved so many people. In hindsight, sure, but asking anybody to sacrifice their life and the lives of their parents and their family, and just say that, like, well, logically speaking, I know what I have to do here. I guess, Mom, Dad, sorry, I guess we all gotta die because I'm not betraying people. Also, that's important to mention, Aoyama didn't even meet, like, anybody in Class 1A yet. Like, this whole thing was probably set up, like, before he really even... This might have been set up even before the admission test, or right after the admission test. So, Aoyama hadn't even really spent that much time with Class 1A yet. And the more time he spent with them, he's like, oh shit, this is bad. Maybe I should have just died. I don't know, man. This is fucking hardcore. I am not equipped to deal with this situation. I don't blame this guy at all. This is absurd. Yeah. Yeah, you're expecting a lot from a freshman in high school that just, okay. I mean, dude, there's some people in here that are admitting that, like, hey, if that was me, I know how I was when I was a freshman in high school. If that was me in that situation, I would have flipped off All For One and died a hero. I'd be like, all right, well, you're stronger willed than I think like 95% of most people. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, no thanks, I'm folding. I can't have my family die. Call me a jerk. Call me if you want. I mean, I think that's the result most people would do. I can't imagine, really. I don't understand. Like, you can't, like, that's not going to be an easy decision to make. You know? Yeah. And also, Aoyama cannot see the future. He does not know that this war is going to happen. He doesn't even really know the full breadth of what, like, the League of Villains is yet, or what Tomura and All For One are really planning, or what the full scope of their plan is. He doesn't know anything about One For All. He doesn't know anything about this. He just knows that his parents messed up and made a decision, and we're like, hey, you do what we tell you, or your whole family dies in front of you, and then we kill you for good measure, and that's all, and we take back the laser beam quirk and call it a day. You know, like, that's how it is. Yep. I do such a good job for All For One that he gives me a better quirk. Yeah, that's what Aoyama should. Like a whole other. Okay, now that would lead Aoyama to be more in the villain side of things. If Aoyama just is like, wait a minute here, all for one, I'll do what you want me to do, but I want to strike a better bargain because this quirk isn't working for me. Give me another quirk to better adapt me to this one, or give me something else altogether. And all for one's like, oh, I like you. Do you want a better spot in my organization? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're making deals now. Yeah. There are consequences, like, consequences for his parents, to be sure. I can understand him getting off, like, with a relative, like, locked up for a little bit, maybe a little bit of probation or whatever, if you want to throw that on there, but I can't see throwing Aoyama away and locking him up and throwing away the key. That is no way. Like, that doesn't even make sense for that to happen. Lock him up for a bit, make sure nothing's going on, that he's not leaking any more intel. I don't know, give him some counseling. He's going to need that. A lot of people are going to need counseling on this list here. Yeah. But yeah, that's expecting way too much from a freshman. That's expecting way too much. Yeah. Maybe if you're like, now you know what? It's interesting. There might be some other characters in Class 1A or that might have responded differently to that. Maybe some of them would have. Like, out of the 20 students of Class 1A, who knows? Maybe, like, one of them would have made the decision to be like, all right, well, I'm not listening to you. I'll choose death instead. Who do you think it would have been? Who do you think? Todoroki, maybe? You think Todoroki would have chosen it? What about, now, I was going to say Koda. I think Koda's too much of a coward. Koda would not. Koda's mom is like such a nice like lady. Like Koda would not see his mom die. I think Koda would have been the traitor too. Bakugo would have. Yeah, Bakugo would have probably. No, here's what would have happened with Bakugo. Bakugo would have tried to attack All for One directly or whoever they sent after them. And he would have lied, and then they would have showed up, and then Bakugo would have attacked, and he would have died that way. Like that's how that would have went with Bakugo. Yeah. Tokoyami would have chosen death. Well, that's because he's like a Chunimbyo. Like, that's basically, he's got the Chunimbyo, like, middle school sickness where he believes that he's like, I am the dark spirit of the night. I am the main character of this story. Yeah, but who knows? Who knows, man? You take a freshman, you take his parents, put a gun to their heads right in front of you, and you make a decision. I don't know, man. I don't know. Mineta would be a traitor immediately. Yeah, I don't think Mineta would have held out. No, I think Kirishima would have gone with it. I think Kirishima would have been a traitor. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, Invisible Girl being the traitor was on the table for a while. I think that was all just because of the way that, because she was invisible. Like it's an obvious one. Also, remember that one chapter where you saw Kaminari striking the Redestro pose, like the L pose? Remember that one chapter? You see him doing it. And I think Horikoshi put that in there just to be like, I'm just going to really screw with people here on who the traitor is now. Yeah. No way Deku becomes an evildoer. I don't know, Mom. I don't know, man. Izuku loves his mom. I don't know. Izuku's mom. Inko has a gun to her head, and Izuku has a choice to make. I don't know. Man. We also don't know a lot of the other Class 1A's like parents that well. We know Izuku's, we know Bakugo's, we don't really... Oh, we know Jiro's. Jiro's actually did show up at one point. Jiro's were actually really interesting. And we've never seen Tokoyami's mom. Have we ever seen Tokoyami's mom? That would be... I'm actually curious. Is one of Tokoyami's parents like a bird and the other one is just a normal human? I'm actually curious. Yeah. Either way, it's a messed up, stressful situation that no one could possibly say. I mean, like, even if you say now, like, how you would have responded, it's even kind of up in the air. Because, like, if you were actually in that scenario, it's one thing to discuss hypotheticals. It's another thing altogether to actually be in a situation like that. You have a choice to make, and it could result in the death of your whole family. That's something that hopefully none of us will actually have to be in that situation, Yep. Hindsight is 2020. All right. going along with that logic, let's talk about Gentle. Gentle's story arc. This isn't going to be as long. It's just something interesting I wanted to bring up. So, once again, it delves more into society on this one, like the society and how it's structured in My Hero Academia, and more specifically, like how villains are created in society, or because the story of Gentle is somebody that fell through the cracks of society and ended up becoming a villain because of that. So it's like he falls through all these cracks and he ends up there. Now, there are personal decisions with Gentle. I'm not saying Gentle is completely, like, of course, he made the decision to be a villain. But I like looking at villains' like stories and where they ended up, okay? So Gentle, let me just pull up his page really quick. I was going to make a whole video about Gentle. I actually had stuff prepared. Danjuro Tobita. Okay. So let's see here. God, is it just me or are ads really going crazy? Like, I have an ad blocker here, and even that is not holding back some of these ads. Damn. All right. Is Gentle lame? I mean, yeah. I mean, we could do that poll. It's kind of It's kind of sad, but okay. I'll do it. Is Gentle lame? Yes or no? Okay. I mean, sure. Oh, synopsis. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so this is a superhero society, right? You have people that have legitimate superpowers, and there are schools that you can go to be a hero. It's like, I want to be a hero. It's like, okay, you go to school, get good grades, stay in there, do your homework, drink your juice, be a upstanding member of society. You graduate, join a hero agency, you could be a hero. Great. And that works for, like, and the ones that don't do too well in school will usually be like, hey, I'm sorry, but you can't really, it's not for you, man. It's not for you, kid. The hero life just isn't for you. And I'd say a good over 95% of people would probably be like, accept that. They might be upset about it, but they'd be like, all right, I guess the hero life's not for me. I'm going to go and be a salary man, or I'm going to go be a baker, or I'm going to go work at the bank or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm just going to go and work a regular life or join the police squad or whatever, okay? So the thing with Gentle is he wanted to be a hero, so he went to a hero school. It wasn't a prestigious one. It wasn't UA. It wasn't Shiketsu. It was just, public hero school 136. He went to like a middle of the road kind of like inner city, hero school or whatever like that, right? So he goes to school. He really wants to be a hero. Like, I want to be a hero, but his grades are horrible. He ends up repeating grades. He's 18 years old. Like, his class he should have already graduated at this point, but he's still in high school. And the principal calls him and his mom into the office, and his mom is in there crying. Like, literally, like, look at this image here. This is, like, so sad. Like, look at this. Hold on, let me move that over here. Look at this. He's like 18 years old. He's still a high school junior, maybe. And his mom is just like, oh, my son, oh, where did I go wrong? He's like, okay. He's like, don't worry, principal. I'm still going to be a hero. And the principal's like, yeah, you've been repeating grades, and your grades have not improved in general. And this isn't even like a prestigious school, to be honest with you, and you're not doing that good. I honestly gotta tell you, kid, I don't think you can be a hero. But I want to be a hero. I want to save people. I want to be a good guy. Sorry, you can't. I think you should just go and get another career, right? So he's like dejected by this. I don't know if he quits school. Oh no. Oh God. One day Okay, the life counselor urged Danjiro to drop out of his endeavor. I guess maybe drop out of the hero course. Because if the fucking guidance counselor says, I think you should just drop out of school, man, that's a shitty guidance counselor. If that is like, hey, you're not doing that great, you should probably just drop out. Just like, honestly, like, you're never going to amount to anything, kid. You should probably just drop out. I probably meant to, like, drop out of the hero course and go do something else, right? So he, let's see, does this happen? Yeah. So, he promises his mom, like, don't worry, Ma, I'm gonna be a hero. I'll show them that I can be a hero. I'll be a hero. So he's walking home from school one day, and that's the incident where there's a guy jumping off the side of a building. Like, right? He's like a guy falling, and he tries to save him. He wasn't jumping. He wasn't trying to kill himself or anything. He just fell out of a building. And Gentle is like, aha! I have seen this in movies. This is my moment to become a hero. I'm going to use my elastic quirk, and I'm going to bounce him back into the roof, and I will save the day. And he goes in, but unfortunately there was another hero going to save the guy at the same time, so Gentle's elastic quirk just ended up messing up the operation. The guy fell. I don't think he died, but it resulted in him needing 6 months to recover. Now, obviously, he's going to get, I don't know if he was arrested, but he was definitely tried for obstruction of justice, and made his family a target of harassment. People were vandalizing his house. I think his parents also kicked him out at this time, too. Like, get out of school. You've shamed our family. Get the hell out of here, you know. So he left, but he still wants to be a hero. Now, I want to ask you a question in society, all right, from the society standpoint here, all right? This guy really, really, really wants to be a hero. He wants to be a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He doesn't want to be a villain. He wants to be a hero. And this is a world where he has a superpower. Okay? Now, that's a factor you got to include here because you don't have superpowers in real life. But he has a superpower, and he wants to be a hero. But society keeps telling him, you can't. You can't be a hero. You're not allowed. Not allowed to be a hero. Sorry, your grades aren't good enough. You can't do it, kid. You got to go pick something else. I don't care what you pick. You can't be a hero. I really want to be, though. Are you not kind of pushing those people to be villains at that point? Or at the very least, vigilantes? You could, in theory, be like, okay, you really, 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 really want to be a hero, even though your grades are shit. Okay, tell you what. We don't want you going out there and becoming a vigilante. We don't want you going out there and becoming a villain. So, how about we give you, like, a temporary position at a hero office? You can be, like, a sidekick. We will give you something to do that is heroic. We will put you in that industry. Because if we just keep rejecting you over and over again, that kind of keeps pushing them to be like, well, I'll just be a vigilante then. It'd be like, that's illegal. You can't do that. Or you have a villain coming to you and be like, hey, those heroes are assholes. They don't want you to be you don't want you to be a hero. Hey, how about you team up with our team, our gang over here? We could do stuff. And that might foster some negative feelings toward the hero society. So maybe, I feel like they could have done something for Gentle there. I feel like they could have been like, okay, like this should have been dealt with at like the school level, honestly. This should have been dealt with way back in the day. Like the life counselor, the guidance counselor could have been like, all right, you really want to be a hero, right? Yes, sir. Okay. You know you failed like every major class and you've had to repeat this grade twice, right? Yes. You really want to be a hero? Yes. You will not change your opinion on this. No. I want to be a hero. I want to save people. Okay. All right. We're going to give you like, here, go to this hero agency. They might have some people like low-level internships. It's not going to be the best hero agency. It's actually going to be one of the shittier ones. But if you're really serious about this, we don't want you doing stuff illegal out there, okay? So here, go there, and here's a part-time position, and maybe you can do some on-site experience, and maybe if they like you, maybe you'll rise through the ranks. You know, they could have at least done something like that for him, I feel. Because what ended up happening is he ended up becoming a villain. Now, he wasn't like the murdering people kind of villain. He wasn't that kind of a guy, But he ended up being like, well, if I can't be a hero, I will become a villain. And I wonder how many people in society, in this world, in My Hero Academia, how many people are like Gentle, except even worse than Gentle. They don't end up just being small-time crooks that are robbing convenience stores and YouTubing it and streaming it on Twitch and TikToking it, you know? How many people fell through the cracks in this society that were never given a chance to even be a hero beyond like, well, I guess they were given a chance, but it was kind of like, hey, we gave you a chance, you failed, you can't do anything else. So, you know, how many other people slip through this and actually become legitimate villains or vigilantes that do end up actually causing harm, you know? He wants to be seen. He wanted to be seen. Yes, he wanted to be seen. He wanted to be noticed. I feel like there's better things that could have been done for him than just shoving him away into the gutter and him ending up the way he did. But you know what? He spent his time in prison. He served his time for his crimes. He never killed anybody. He showed up in the final war and he saved the day. He stopped that whole prison from being broken out of. And then the cops show up, and I think it was actually in the last volume. Yeah. Gentle definitely is culpable for these actions. Like, I'm not like he could have been like, all right, I guess I'm not going to be a hero. I'm going to go be a civil servant or whatever. He could have, but like you got to be understanding like this is a world where superpowers exist. It would be very easy for him to flip from hero to villain on a dime with the superpowers that he has. Okay? So yeah, let me see here. This is where Gentle is falling down. Yeah. 7 prisons came under attack, and the only one that had no escapees. So the prison guards or the police show up to Gentle, and he stopped an entire prison riot single-handedly, pretty much. And they're like, "Well, what do you want, Tobita? Like, what do you want from us? Like, you stopped this breakout. What do you want?" And he's like, "I only wish to see La Brava and to, I actually think he says, I want to see La Brava and I want to like." You know, make it up to that kid like Izuku, you know? Then that's his fault. Well, the thing is, I feel like they should have, like, at least given him something more. Like, even like, okay, we gave you one chance, you failed. We gave you a second chance, we failed. All right, well, that's it. Out on your own. It's like, there's nothing I can do. Nothing at all. Nothing to even, I can't even be, like, working low level at a hero age. Nope, get out of here. We don't want you. I think there should have been some options there. Yeah. Also, I question, like, why he was failing the grades. Like, what was the problem exactly with that? I mean, I feel like he could have gotten a tutor or something, you know? Like, all right, you really want to be a hero? Okay, how about we get you... Okay, well, you're failing this course, so maybe we'll give you that. Maybe we'll give you a tutor in that to try to help you, you know? Yeah. They need superhero community college. Yeah. Is there like superhero community college? Is there like a GED course you can take? I feel like there should be something here, you know? Yeah, it's part of this is definitely his fault. I'm not taking it away like Aoyama. Like, Gentle's an adult by the time he's making these choices to become like the crook and everything. He's going around, he's going to rob convenience stores and things like that. He's an adult. He could make the choice. You know. But I feel like in that way, it maybe even something along the lines of like, hey, you tried this out, it didn't work, come back in like a year and you can try again. And then if it doesn't work then, come back in another year, try to take the test. He kept failing the provisional license exam over and over and over again. And they failed, like, I think after he failed, like, how many times did he fail? Let me see. He failed it 4 times. At which point I would argue, like, after you fail it, like, twice, there's got to be something going on here. Like, you know, what are you particularly having a problem with? You know, like, at a certain point, I feel like he's still in school at this point. Like, this is back when he's still a high school student. Like, at a certain point, if there's a student that really wants to be a hero but is failing this monumentally at hero exams, I feel like, you know, I guess he wasn't going to the greatest high school in the world, so maybe they couldn't have like extra assistants for him or something, but I feel like there should have been something more for him there. My Hero for Dummies or something. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, Koichi's story is kind of similar. He also failed the hero course, and he just kind of ended up going to college and becoming a vigilante. Yeah, yeah. There is ways for a hero as an adult to become a hero. Yeah, so I think, like, maybe the school could have done something like, all right, this, you failed the provisional license exam 4 times in a row. Clearly this is not working. So tell you what, we're going to give you a special hero course facility, a place that handles like cases like yours. Because Gentle could not have been the only person that slipped through the cracks like this. There had to have been other people, right? And it's just like, there's a special hero course, like this, it's a special remedial course for you, and they'll walk you through shit. And like, honestly, yeah, I wonder if Gentle has some kind of like learning disability. Like, honestly, it might have been something like, I'm just not getting this. Like, was it like he was failing the provisional license exam? So the provisional license exam is something involving like, I don't think there was a written test to that, but there might have been, like, he might have been failing his written grades. Like, he might have had something that maybe he couldn't like study properly or something like that was undiagnosed or something. Like, that might have been an issue there, So, like, yeah, like, here's a remedial study exam, and we'll figure out what's going on here. And then, it might take you a little longer, but eventually you can try to get your license when you're maybe in your 20s, and then you could try this again. Maybe something like that, yeah. And Gentle was really trying. That's the point. Like, we don't really know exactly. Like, it's not like he was lazy. He was certainly not lazy. He was dedicated to become a hero. So there had to have been something else going on here because the story doesn't add up. He's like, he was really dedicated to be a hero, but he was failing all of his classes and he failed the exam. So it's like 4 times. Like, what is going on here with this guy? Yeah. How old is too old to be a hero? Dude, I would say, like, there's heroes that are in their 60s and 70s. Gran Torino's an old guy, and he's still a hero. All right? So I would imagine, like, you could be a hero in your teens, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Like, it's never too late to be a hero. And that's also a piece of advice to everybody. There's never too late to follow your dreams. Every time I see a story about, like, I'm a 67-year-old that went to school and got my degree to be a doctor, it's like, you know what? You fucking go, Grandma. You go. That's awesome, dude. I love reading stories about those kind of people that, like, I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I finally passed the bar exam at age 57. I'd be like, you know what? Good. AFO rigs the grading system. Yeah. Society is going to be destroyed if too many more quirks mix. That is an issue. Like, that quirk doomsday theory, I think that was confirmed to be accurate. So, yeah. But all right. That one is, that one was about Gentle. The last thing I want to address is Toga. I mean, we'll talk about other stuff too, but if there's anything else in this stream I want to go over, it's Toga's story. The path of education should never end. That is true. There should never be a point where someone tells you you're a waste of space, you're never going to accomplish your dreams, give up and try something else. Maybe you could say something like, look, you have a lot of work to put into this. You have to put in more work than other people have to work into it. You're a little bit behind. I'm not saying to give up. I'm saying that it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you, and you might require a lot of support for this, but you can always try again later. Like, that would have been the kind of advice that I would have given to Gentle. Like, if this doesn't work for you, maybe go out there, get a job, go to community college, take some night classes, work on yourself a bit, and if there was like some kind of learning disability, obviously, go and get that checked out to see what's going on, and then get some assistance with that, and then try this again maybe a little later. It's never too late, Okay, so yeah, Hero GED program, like, absolutely, yeah. You could be a hero at 31. I could be a hero at 31. Yeah. I chose YouTuber instead. Okay, Toga's story. Let's go through this one. All right. So, she is born with the quirk. Now, what is exactly the name of her quirk?
It is just called transform. Okay. It's a transformation quirk, but it's specifically based off of blood. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but just having the quirk, like, gives her, like, she's a vampire, essentially. Like, there was even one chapter that was called Interview with a Vampire. Like, that, she is supposed to be, like, a vampire, right? So, she drinks people's blood. She gains access to their forms, okay? So, the side effect of that quirk is she has, like, a bloodlust. You know, she, like, actually, like, she drinks blood. It tastes good to her. She, like, wow, blood, yummy. You know, like, that's the whole idea of the quirk, right? And then she drinks blood, and then she turns into that person, okay? So, because of her quirk, like, because quirks literally change. Like, in some cases, you become a heteromorph, and you literally become, like, a lizard person or a spider person or whatever. And in other cases, you have a quirk that, like in her case, gives her a craving for human blood or blood in general. It's not her fault. It's not something she chose. You know, it's just she has a craving for blood. All right. So because of that, growing up, she did not understand, like, what cultural, like, norms are, because she's, like, a little kid. And her idea is like, blood tastes good. I think there's even one story where she, like, kills a bird and she, like, eats it. Or maybe she grabbed the bird and, like, drank its blood, okay? Now, when she did that, her parents were looking at her like, oh my God, we've given birth to a monster! Ah, back! It's like, all right, let's stop for a moment there. Okay. Toga's like the same age as everybody else in Class 1A, right? I think she's a little older. She's 17. She's a little older. So she's part of the same generation as Izuku and Bakugo and everybody like that. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, is like the 5th generation of kids that have quirks. It's like the 5th or 6th generation. Like, it's been over 100. Like, All For One's been alive for over 100 years. So it's over 100. Like, society is now structured around quirks now. This is not like first generation, oh my God, our daughter's a vampire, burn her at the stake. You know, it's none of that. This is like 100 years down the line here. You know what I mean? It's like 150 years or so. Yeah, it's like 5th or 6th generation here. Okay. All right. So, if you are parents, first of all, this is interesting. I have a lot of friends that are having kids right now. So my one friend Chris, you know, he's a dad now, and when you know his son was about to be born, him and his wife had to go to a bunch of like parenting classes and classes to help you like understand having a child and how to take care of a baby, and if you've never done it before, like classes for first-time parents. I don't think you could be made to required to take that, but I think every parent should, you know. So I've had a lot of my friends that have been attending classes like that, right? Because they're going to be first-time parents, right? I would imagine there should be something like that in My Hero, except it should cover quirks, and there's no reason why that shouldn't exist because it's like 150 years. So there should be a class where it's like, okay, everybody, first-time parents, really exciting. Just a bunch of nervous husbands and like pregnant women in the room. You know, like, okay. And they're like, hey, okay, so childbirth is a really, really magical miracle of a time, especially now that we all have quirks. So just understand that some of your children might have quirks. In fact, it's more than likely they're going to have some quirks. Now, those quirks might be a combination of some of your quirks, or they might be something different. But it's very important that no matter what quirk your child ends up with, like, you do not judge them. You do not call them the guy has to pull out like a whiteboard and like, we do not call our children freaks. We do not call our babies monsters. We do not call them horrible villains that will ruin all of society. You know, we don't do that, all right? You understand that there's a lot of crazy quirks out there. There's a guy over there that can spit fire. There's a guy over there that's a snake man. There's a guy over here that's made out of marbles or whatever. Just understand that that's gonna maybe happen, okay? So, you think, okay,
Kid is born. It's a baby girl. And slowly but surely you find out what her quirk is. That she is a vampire and craves human blood. All blood, I think. It's any blood. So Toga's parents are abusive as shit. For telling her that she's a monster and a freak and we should have never birthed you. It's like, yeah, that's definitely going against societal norms. There's no way that wouldn't have been something that would have been covered at some point. You know, like you might have a child that might have a quirk that might be a little intense. When that happens, you're going to take them to special counseling. You don't tell them that they're a monster, okay? That's going to do more harm than good and might make them self-conscious and might make them villains later on. So let's make sure to not do that, all right? So Toga's parents dropped the ball in a big way. All right. So there were some other incidents where, you know, she was like killing small animals. And I think there was one incident where she bit like a child, like she bit one of her classmates. Now, don't kick the explosive quirk baby. That's probably a good... Don't drop the explosive quirk baby. Now, there is a statement, and Horikoshi does go into this. He does say that there is quirk counseling in My Hero Academia, and there's even a scene where Toga goes to quirk counseling. But she killed a classmate and drank her blood. Did he kill the guy or just injure him? If he killed him, well, we're getting to that. We're not at that point yet. We're still at the point where she's like just learning about her quirk, okay? We'll get to that in a moment, all right? Okay. Quirks don't manifest until they're 5. Okay, so she was 5. Okay, sure, fine. Oh, no, that's not true. The luminescent baby was glowing right out of the womb. That's not true. The quirks don't manifest until they're 5. That's not true. Now, no kill. He just injured. Okay. I was going to say, if she killed the classmate. All right, now... let me actually pull up what chapter this was from, because I want to actually reference that from the manga. Because there is a scene where she goes to counseling, and it's the worst therapist ever. It is the worst counselor ever, okay? So this is important to understand here for her story, okay? Yeah, I think the manifestation is random. I think it's up until 4 or 5. If you're gonna manifest, that's when the majority of people do it. Because, like, when Izuku was 5 or 6, that was like, yeah, it's not gonna happen, kid. You know? All right, hold on. I gotta pull up a synopsis here. Yeah, heteromorphs are born like that. Yeah. Yeah, now, when did this happen here? Okay. Okay, Okay, so she brought the bird back to her parents. She said she was, like, captivated by it. Because to her, drinking blood is a good thing. It's a normal thing because that's how her body is. That's what her quirk is. So she's like, oh, look at this bird. And she's, like, fascinated by death, too, because of that, right? So her parents started treating her horribly. They told her to suppress it from a young age by putting immense pressure on her to be, why can't you just be normal? Okay, but first thing, horrible thing to say to a kid. In this day and age, horrible thing to say to a kid. Second thing, you live in a world where everybody has a unique superpower. Like I said, if Toga's story was taking place like right at the beginning of Quirks, that would make more sense. But it isn't. Like, were her parents, like, super traditionalist or something like that? Maybe they were. Maybe her parents, because we don't really know anything about her parents. Because the only time we see Toga's parents, they're from her perspective, and they're, like, shadowed monsters that are just telling her to, like, you're a monster, be normal! You know, it's like, yeah, that's not going to mess up the kid at all. That's not going to make the problem worse, you know? Also, I mean, like, just logistically, your daughter is, like, craving human blood and you're complaining and yelling and calling her a freak. Just seems like you're expecting her to murder you. I mean, I'm just saying you're kind of poking the bear at that point, but whatever. Anyway, that's not even the worst of it. All right, this was from chapter 392. So let me pull up this chapter. I want to look at some references here. This was from volume 39. Oh, this is from volume 39. I only have up to 38. Okay. Wow, I didn't think her backstory was this. No, her backstory was before this, wasn't it?
Hold on a minute. Chapter 225. Because, yeah, when she's being interviewed by that girl from Detrinat, she's also... She explains her own little... Yeah, interview with the vampire. I think this is where a lot of it is explained. Okay, volume 24, chapter 225. Okay. Yeah. Awesome volume cover with this one, by the way. Really love that one. Yeah. Do you think her quirk is a combo one? I think it could be. I think it could very well be, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, any parent, yeah, if any parent tells their kid to be normal, that's a shit parent right there. Yeah. Could be a combination like Aries. Could be. Absolutely. All right. Volume, okay, actually, first chapter. Okay. So let's see what we got here. So she's being interviewed here by that lady. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is when she's in middle school. She attacks that kid. The middle schooler in question allegedly attacked a classmate with a knife, is currently on the run, and investigations underway. I can't wrap my head around this. I saw her sucking Saito's blood, and she smiled. Okay, and then she's all really creepy with it. Yeah. So it has the scene with the bird. There's a scene with her in therapy. Stop that. So this is her parents. Like, stop that. What are you doing? Quit making that creepy smile. You look like a deviant. Why can't you just be normal? Act like a normal little girl. It's like, yeah, okay, shit parents. But there's more to this story here. That part might not come until a little later. None of her parents had a similar quirk. That's no excuse. This is a world where everybody has a unique power. Sometimes you get a quirk that's like your parents. Sometimes you get a combination. Sometimes you get something else from further back in the family line. So, by the way, it would make the Maury show very different in the My Hero Academia world. You are not the father. Yeah. Like, I don't know. But this should be something that they should be prepped before you have a kid. Like, your kid might have a quirk that's a little bit intense. Oh, you know what? Okay. I can't find the exact scene. If someone can find the exact scene, there is a scene where she goes into like counseling or like quirk therapy, and the counselor literally tells her, "Oh, don't worry, we'll straighten her out." This is really sounding like her parents were like super like traditionalist, or really religious, and are like taking their child away to like pray the gay away camp or something like really fucked up like that. Like, we're gonna re-educate her. Don't worry about that. We'll make sure she's normal. That's like, her story is really giving off major vibes like that. All right. Chapter 392. Thank you. If it is in that chapter. Oh, God. Which parents are worse? Aoyama's or Toga's? Oh, that is rough. Yeah, it is from chapter 392. All right, well. Let me pull that up, then. Gonna have to pull that up on here. Nani? Yeah. Yeah, it really does feel like that. Like some kind of re-education shit. All right, let's see what we got here. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Her parents see her killing the bird. God, she's like such a little kid here too. Like, they're just treating her like shit. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there's a scene with this scene right the fuck here. This scene. This was, I was thinking I was not 100% remembering it correctly, but I was. Look at this. Let's all get you reformed. Nice and normal now, Toga. Okay, we're gonna make sure that we straighten you out. Yeah, no, this is fucked, man. This is wrong. No, this is not the proper way that this should be dealt with in this society. Here's what should be the case. All right. So, thinking about this,
some kids that have quirks are going to be quirks that aren't really going to affect them psychologically too much. But you have to imagine there are some quirks that are going to be really heavy on you psychologically. Like if you are born as a lizard person, and not everybody is a lizard person, and this goes into Shoji's and Koda a little bit even, and Spinner. Like this is Spinner's whole story. Like in the city, it's kind of more accepted, but out in the country, there's a lot of racism and prejudice against heteromorph types. So, like, Tsuyu, her whole family are frogs. Like, her whole family has the frog quirk, but, like, they don't treat, like Tsuyu is treated, like, normally because she lives in, like, the city. But, you know, Shoji was born out in the country, and he was, like, really abused. You know what I mean? So, that definitely affects personality, and it affects you psychologically. If you're born with a quirk, like Shigaraki, perfect example. His quirk, we later find out that All For One actually gave it to him, so I don't like that decision. But we have a quirk that literally just decays everything around you, but that was actually engineered for All For One to give to Tomura. But still, there are quirks out there that, like, what happens if, you know what? This kind of ties into Shinso a little bit, because Shinso has the brainwashing quirk. And Shinso's, like, friends would always tell him, hey, man, if I had that quirk, I could, like, make anybody do what I wanted. That's a really scary quirk. It's like a villain's quirk. And Shinso was always really uncomfortable whenever people brought that up. He'd be like, yeah, I guess it is, kinda. I mean, I didn't get to choose it. It's just my quirk. I have it. I don't get to pick these. Nobody does. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So, I would argue in this world, there should be certain levels of quirk therapy. I don't know, because Horikoshi never really fleshes it out in a big way. If this scene right here is the golden standard for quirk therapy, I think there needs to be a little bit of a mental health reevaluation in the world of My Hero Academia. There needs to be, like, the Department of Education or whatever handles this they need to improve a little bit here. Either that, or you could just go with the fact her parents were really messed up and send her to, like, the therapist that's going to try to, like, you know, force her to be normal kind of thing, right? Yeah. Okay. So, when a quirk is detected in a child, there should be a psychological evaluation. Like, this kid's quirk allows him to shoot water from his finger. Not really all that stressful on the psyche. That's probably not going to be a psychological problem too much. You know what I mean? This kid's quirk allows him to make bubbles. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And that hero went on to be the laundry hero. We love you, Wash. Probably not going to be super psychologically traumatizing. So they can go into, like, everybody needs to go to quirk therapy because this is something important. But this is like quirk therapy, like level 1. Not a big deal. And then as the quirks start getting, like, Bakugo's is an explosion quirk. Like, okay, if not handled properly, this quirk could actually kill someone. Like, Bakugo could go in for a hug and blow someone's head off. You know what I mean? He could go to shake somebody's hand and, how the hell you doing, buddy? Boom! Ah! You know, ah! You know, like, yeah. Bubbles can be dangerous, Decking. Let's be honest here, yes. I hated the fact that AFO was responsible for everything. That's one part of this that I don't like. I hate when you go on that level with, that really removes choice from, like, the main villain, but whatever, okay. Not that he ever does hugs, but true, like, I don't think Bakugo is the only person in the world that has the quirk that explodes things. I'm sure there's other people that have similar powers, but anyway. So, maybe that's quirk counseling, like, level 4 or 5. Anyway, you got to understand there are going to be people that are going to be born with quirks like Toga's, that she craves human blood. Just the nature of that, craving human blood, if that is not appropriately dealt with, and when I say dealt with, I don't mean dealt with like she's forced to not use it. I mean, like, unless you sit her down at a young age and you explain, like, how this is, like, how that could be detrimental. Like, you do not, like, you can't go around and drink people's blood. You're not a monster. You're not a freak. You're not a vampire. You were born with a quirk, but you got to understand that this is a problem. Like, not a problem, but, like, there's a very careful tightrope you got to walk here, okay? And if it's not handled correctly, Toga is going to end up severely damaged. And that's how she ended up, all right? It has to be managed properly, yes. Right? So, because there's other, like, what are some other quirks that you could be born with in this world that would not adhere to, like, because you obviously can't have somebody going around murdering people, right? So there might be a quirk that's genuinely dangerous that, like, wasn't there one of those, like, you remember that arc where, Todoroki and Bakugo had to do the remedial tests for the provisional license? Wasn't there, like, a kindergartner that had the ability to, like, fire, like, bullets out of his hands or something like that? Like, that's, like, what? You know? Yeah. Decay is another one. Although, like I said, that was engineered by AFO. But I think AFO, I don't even know if that was a natural quirk. That might have been something that AFO made. Like, he was genuinely trying to make, like, the most traumatizing quirk ever, and he gave it to Tomura. All right. Oh, acid quirk. Actually, Bakugo's dad has an acid sweat quirk. It's not as potent, but yeah, imagine if you had like fucking like hydrochloric acid. Like, you just you spit or you oozed hydrochloric acid and you couldn't control it, right? Like, there's a kid that has a cannon that can fire cannonballs. You know, like, this kid that like spews acid. Overhaul is oh my god, Overhaul literally could kill someone at a touch. You touch somebody and you break them up and you turn them into something else. You know? Tremor quirk, that's a problem. So, you take these kids that have these extraordinarily dangerous quirks, and they need to go into, like, quirk therapy, like, level 5. Because if they're not handled properly, then these quirks could kill people. Like, so it's like, okay. So that should have been the case with Toga. And I don't understand why it didn't happen. Unless her parents were literally just straight up abusive, super, like... I don't like I said earlier, like, the comparison would have been like, oh my god, our son is gay. Well, we got to throw him into the anti-gay camp so he'll get turned straight again. Like, unless her parent, like, I think her parents might have been something like that, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Called landmine. Yeah, you have a landmine. There's so many quirks that are dangerous. So many quirks that could kill somebody if the kids don't learn how to properly, use them. Yeah. Toga definitely had conservative parents. Oh, yeah. So, wanted to bring that up, too. Because her issue is just, like severe mental instability that was caused by, like, and I'm not a freaking psychiatrist or anything, but, like, this is, you could see the issue with her. Yeah. Nagant literally makes a rifle from her arm. Yeah, her quirk is 50 caliber sniper rifle. That is her quirk. What's your quirk, little kid? I can make a sniper rifle. Oh. Well. That's wonderful. Yeah. Oh, dude. When are you going to close that gentle pull? Right now sounds like a good time. Right about now. All right. So, like, 64% gentle is not lame. These are just a few examples of some, like, aspects of Horikoshi's world. He doesn't go into great detail with any of this. I went into more detail with a lot of these. But it's making us have these conversations. And I would say it's a good manga for that. It's a good manga for dealing with these types of situations, and especially because a lot of them are, like, you could see them as parallels to shit in our world, like mental health and stuff like that. So for that reason, I'd say Horikoshi, good job for the way that you conveyed this. Like, could he have went into greater detail with it? I think he could have. But maybe at the end of the day, though, it is a shonen battle manga. So he's like, okay, I could go even more into Tomura and Toga's and Gentle's backstories, but at the end of the day, this is a story about Izuku. This is a story about Tomura. This is a story about All for One. So I'm going to focus primarily on their stories. And there's a lot of other side stuff, but I'm just going to have to give you the certain stuff and just roll with it. Yeah. Yeah. Insight is literally a quirk that's just like, everybody, do what I say. Yeah! You know, like, that's a quirk. That could cause, that's like a cycle. That's a brainwashing quirk, kind of. Yeah. Nagant's 360 no scope. Yep. Especially when you know there are villain organizations operating in the world, you know they're out there. So, you know, it's like it is imperative that you educate your kids on their quirks as early as possible. You don't want them to end up a villain. Yeah. Yeah, the kid with the chain chomps. Remember that kid? Oh my god. Yeah, that quirk singularity theory is going to be scary, dude. You flash forward like 2 generations down the line, we're going to have kids being born as nuclear bombs. Yeah. Do you think Toga is dead? Yeah, I guess that was kind of left ambiguous, wasn't it? Let's see here. You will be normal. I'll go over some super chats here in a minute. Yeah, the last time we saw her, she was just next to Ochako as they passed out on the ground. Yeah. Let's do it, yeah. Oh, wait, not Q&A, no. Poll. Yeah. Is Toga dead? Yes or no? I think we see Toga in the hospital. Do we? I don't remember. All right. We'll let that run for a bit. I'll go through some super chats here. Let's see what we got. Let's see. What other weekly Shonen Jump manga are you reading? It would be cool to see a general weekly recap. Probably not going to do a weekly recap. If you want a weekly recap, go check out Weekly Manga Recap with Rolo T and Y Ruler of Time. Yeah, they have Spotify. They're on YouTube. They have a bunch of stuff. I've been on their show a few times. I should go back on there, actually. It's been a while since I've been back on there. I love those guys. So, I'm reading Akane Banashi. I'm reading Undead Unluck. I read Sakamoto Days. Every once in a while, I'll hop on. I'm a little bit behind on it, but I do read Sakamoto Days occasionally. Chainsaw Man, I read that. Need to get caught up on Spy Family, definitely. By the way, I did read that Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi. The art is really good art. I'm not a huge fan of the premise and the world building. I'm not really into it. The art is really good though. But yeah, I think those are the only ones that I read on a weekly basis. Yeah, because Dr. Stone ended last year, the year before that actually. So thank you, Bakuman. Aether. Society would be destroyed in not too many more generations. Quirks mix and become more powerful. Tomura will seem like nothing in 10 generations. I don't even know if they're going to get to 10 generations later. I think in like 2 or 3 generations, we're going to have some quirks that are going to be super, super dangerous. Quirks that might be so bad that they might even like kill someone before they even become old enough to even like become a hero. You know what I mean? Like they might be that bad, you know? Teching 101, do you think Toga had a great send-off to her story? Do you think she's still alive? I mean, if she is still alive or if she died, I think her story ended well. I think at the time when the chapters were coming out, there was a lot of breaks in between chapters. Horikoshi was dealing with a lot of illness at the time, and some of the chapters were very quick, and so I think a lot of people were complaining during that arc. But reading it in a straight tankobon format, I feel like the story flows a lot better. It's just, you know, reading it weekly by weekly, and then like 2 weeks go on break, and then it's like, oh man, okay, I have to remember what's going on. But yeah, reading it all at once as it's intended, I think it would flow a lot better. Thank you for the 100 doll hairs. Ost Kuabur. Ost. I'll say Ost. Thank you so much for talking about Himiko Toga. Absolutely. Just because I read the last volume
where'd I put it? Right here. Like, I was reading the last volume, and I was just like, really sitting down, and I was really thinking about it. I was like, man, these are really messed up things that happened to Toga. The things that led to her becoming a villain and stuff like that. Like, her story is actually kind of sympathetic, actually really sympathetic. So, yeah. But absolutely. Thanks you for the 100, maybe Australian dollars. Thank you. Let's see. That was the same person. Thank you. So 110 Australian dollars. Let's get teching to 1 million before One Piece ends. It would be interesting if in like a few more years when One Piece does end, that's right around the time I hit 1 million. I don't think it's going to happen, but you know what? If it happens, it happens. That'd be a cool way to I get to 1 million, right over the edge of 1 million, and I probably won't go up any higher than that because One Piece is now over. Saying Kirishima is a traitor is like saying Chad could be a traitor. I wouldn't see it. Kirishima's too good-natured at heart. Hope you're good, by the way. He is really good-natured, but it's not about being good-natured. It's about being, like, given an ultimatum that you would probably never have thought of, never thought you'd be in that situation, and no matter what situation you pick, if you pick listening to All for One, then people are probably going to end up dead. Like, a lot of people are probably going to end up dead. If you pick not listening to All for One, you and your parents end up dead, absolutely. So it would be rough. But Kirishima's a good egg. I don't know, man. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. That's all well and good on paper. That's all well and good as a hypothetical scenario. If you're actually in the moment with your parents and you have a gun to your head, you might value your own life a little bit more in that particular instance. I don't think there's any way to really 100% guarantee that would be the choice you would make in that decision, unless you've been through a situation like that before. I'm not even saying that you wouldn't. I'm just saying that, like, in that situation, you might not be quick to just say, screw off, I'm not listening to you. Poof. You might be like, listen to me or I'm going to kill you. Let me think about that for a moment. I kind of like living. Living's kind of good. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on Gentle, and I already gave them. But who's your favorite English VA from My Hero? Ooh, there's a lot of really good ones. Gotta look this up really quick because I don't remember all of them. But All for One's VA does a really good job. I understand there's also a voice modulation effect kind of thing going on, but yeah, John Swayze. John Swayze, that guy does a good job. He is a good evil over, like you believe it from him. Like, you believe, like, this guy is like that arc where they first showed up at Camino, or All for One shows up and everybody's about to puke just from the pressure he's given off and, like, just his voice, like that, his voice, you kind of believe, like, oh no, this guy's an evil son of a bitch that will, like, snap your neck and not even give a shit. Like, oh man, yeah. John Swayze, good job. I know it's not a One Piece stream, but I have a theory on why Chopper's bounty is so low. Could it be the minks don't have human rights like how the fishmen were 200 years ago? I mean, I thought about that, actually, but Jinbei has a bounty that's pretty high, and also you would imagine that it doesn't really matter if they're being discriminated against. It's like a threat to the world government, so you think that their bounties would be higher if minks were discriminated the same way that fishmen were 200 years ago, and there's still threats to the government. You think that would even increase their bounty because there's like a prejudice there. So it's other than being a gag, it really doesn't make sense for Beppo and Chopper's bounty to be so low. Yeah. Please, for the love of Nika, upload more Yu-Gi-Oh matches with Spooky on your. Maybe not with Spooky, because I only dueled Spooky once back in London. But with Briggs, absolutely, on my second channel. I'm so tired of using Twitch to watch, I gave up. That is all. I have a lot of the files. I gotta upload a lot more of the things. I have them all, so yeah, we'll upload them. Top MILF in the story. I mean, I'd probably go with Bakugo's mom. If I had to pick a mom, it's just a common answer. It's pretty basic, but I'll roll with it. I'm disappointed we got almost 0 international heroes. I answered these ones earlier, but yeah, I am too. I wish we would have gotten more of those ultimately. We didn't really get a chance to talk about Star and Stripe. Because I'm getting kind of the end here. My voice is kind of getting kind of dead. So, I don't know. Maybe we could do another one of these. Absolutely. I mean, like, we still got 5 more chapters. I could do this again, so it's definitely fine. In fact, I might do that at the end of the story again. We do this part 2. Slightly confused. Is Deku 100% quirkless, or is there still a little... There's a little bit of the embers in him, but they're eventually going to burn out. Unless Horikoshi does a thing where it's like, you get to keep the embers forever. which I wrote that Hisashi was one of the scientists forced to work for, maybe the cult, maybe. That's if Izuku passed the cork around, like maybe you can gain power. I think people said that like can't do that, they'd explode. Maybe if you like play it like hot potato, if you're like, hey Sero, take this, now take it back. Oh Chaco, take it, and I take it back. You know, like maybe if you do it like that, they wouldn't explode instantly, you know? Dragon at least saved Luffy from Smoker. Yeah. Pros of the final war: Toga versus Ochako, Todoroki family drama, Bakugo versus AFO, Gentle and Nagant. The worst part, the little mini racism arc. I just feel like it was shoved in there. You know what I mean? It was just like a couple chapters of it. Like it wasn't really fleshed out a lot. Poor Shoji, poor Spinner, really. Yeah. Have you seen the theory about Morgan's being Mr. Yes, I mentioned that in a stream a while ago. But yeah, being a member of Roger's crew, it lines up. He could be. Maybe not by Horikoshi directly. Maybe bring back Vigilante series. I think the Vigilante series is good where it ended. I would like to see a continuation of Koichi's adventure, though. I just don't know how much. Like, I kind of just want to see like one chapter, like a one shot where he's out being a hero. That's kind of what I want to see there. Yeah, but I answered the oil one. Thank you for the 20. Do you think the All for One backstory should be kept the same in the anime given the pushback it got? Oh, like All for One's backstory, like when he was a baby and the mother and like the thorn quirk and everything, or the spear like bone quirk and everything. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was basically like, look, Horikoshi's kind of leaning on the idea that he was evil from day one. Like, he doesn't, it's interesting. Toga has a really interesting backstory full of a lot of like, oh, that's why she ended up the way she does. I feel bad for her. I'm sympathetic. Same thing with Gentle. Same thing with Aoyama. But with All for One, it was like almost Horikoshi was going out of his way to be like, nah, he's not. I'm not making him sympathetic. I'm going the Aizen route with this almost, where Aizen didn't even really have a backstory. Aizen was just kind of, nope, he's just an evil son of a bitch. And it wasn't even really touched upon. And it's the same thing with All for One. All for One's just kind of like, yeah, he was pretty much evil as soon as he was born. In fact, he was evil while he was even in the womb. Like, all right, I see what you're doing there. I understand it because I've seen other mangakas do it. But does it fit when you did the same thing? Like, oh, it's okay to give this villain a sympathetic backstory, but All for One, nah, he's just evil when he was born. Like, all right. Could they change it? I don't think they're going to change it. They're going to keep it the same. Mystery wounded guy is probably Shirakumo or Kurogiri. Ooh, yeah, if he was Shirakumo, I think that makes more sense, yeah. To me, Final Act was a series of ups and downs, some fandom shipping drama. Yeah, well, the shipping's going to always happen. Yeah. Who would you like to see Bakugo fight in Death Battle? Mr. 5. Anime Cartoon Dad tier list. I got to do that. I also am going to do a Cartoon Network tier list, like best cartoons on Cartoon Network. I'm going to come up with that. Although I kind of ended up doing this instead, so that might be pushed to next week. I'm going to end that poll. Toga is thought to be alive. Or no, she's thought to be dead. She is thought to be dead. The people have spoken. Some people think it's Spinner. Maybe. Imagine being born a hater. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to get going. It's about a 2-hour stream, getting kind of late, and I think my voice has kind of had it for the day. Chapter comes out Thursday. Don't know if I'll put out a video tomorrow. I might just wait for like recovery for that and then do it on Thursday. I try not to let my voice get too strained as of late, because there's been a couple times where I was like, there was one D&D night where I yelled a lot and my voice got shot for like a week. So I'm going to try to ease it up when I'm doing that. Yeah. Oh my God. I see what you did. I see what you did. Good job, Salted. Good job, buddy. Good job. All right. Well, anyway, hope you all enjoyed this. I have a lot more shit to talk about My Hero Academia, actually. There's something involving, we didn't even talk about Bakugo dying,
We didn't talk about All Might really at all. We didn't talk about the Star and Stripe fight. Oh, there's Tomura really we didn't really address upon. So there's more stuff here. It's some good villains are sympathetic and some are pure evil. It's realistic. Not everyone is a good artist. That is true. That is true. Being born evil, though, is something that's kind of like, that one might be like born like I am 6 months old. I'm 6 months old and I devour the world. Like, maybe that might be pushing it a little bit. But in that case, I would have rather you just not show it. Like, don't, like Aizen. Kubo did not even show Aizen's childhood. All right? I think All for One would have benefited from the same kind of ambiguity. Just like, I'm not going to show his backstory. I didn't even think we were going to get it. And I was like, oh, wait, we're getting this? I didn't really need to know. But like, All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night. Enjoy the last 5 chapters of My Hero, I guess. All right. Later, everybody. Sign out. Adios.